In the first video of my series, we covered the basics of OneDrive. Now let's look at how to use it day to day. In this video, I'll show you how to create folders, upload files, and organize everything so your OneDrive stays clean and easy to navigate. Let's continue our exploration of OneDrive by looking at how to organize, save, move, and manage files and folders in OneDrive. Remember, files are private by default. They aren't available to others unless you share them. As we saw in the previous video, anything that's new or has been added recently gets a little eyelash or sunshine next to it. That simply shows that it was recently added, and you can even see when it was last modified. So I showed you how to add this individual file. Now let's look at another way to add an entire folder. Here I have a window in File Explorer, and here's a folder that I'd like to transfer over to OneDrive. And in this case, I'm simply going to be copying it. So notice how this works then. I can simply take this folder and drag it into my OneDrive, and notice that blue dotted line, that's just confirming that that's where I'm putting it, that is into my files. Now I could also drop to a specific folder, but in this case I want this to be one of the primary folders in OneDrive. When I let go, these files, this folder is being uploaded into my OneDrive, and it's simply called OneDrive Practice Files. I've refreshed my OneDrive, and here we can see this OneDrive Practice Files has been added to OneDrive. Now I could have also used this option here under Create and Upload and selected Folder Upload. So that would have been another option for me. When we're in My Files, whether we're in an individual folder or looking at the general interface here, one of the things that can be helpful is to know that very much like our File Explorer, that we can view our content in different ways. So for instance, if I come to Modified here, I could show the newer to older files. Name, we could change that back to ascending. Here I'll move to that sample folder. And one of the other options that I have is how I want to view this information. So currently I'm looking at a list of information. In the upper right-hand corner, here I can change it from list to compact list. I'm able to view more at this time. Or to tiles, which gives me a more visual way of looking at this information. Let's go back to My Files. Here we'll see that tile view. I'll change back to list. And let's change this view here. I could choose descending. I'll go back to ascending order. One of the documents here is financial statements. When you select a file or a folder, a toolbar will show. And this gives you other options, for instance, like opening the file, deleting. You can look at 3 dots here. This shows me other ways that I can manage this file. And that might include to move it, to copy it, even to delete it. On the right-hand side here is details. And so for that file, I'd like to see the details. Where this can be helpful is that not only can I get a little glimpse as to the content of the file, but it also is showing me who has access. So Megan has shared this file with Adele. We can see that. We can see some general activity that has occurred with that file as well. Let's continue with our file and folder management. I'd like to create a folder here. I'll use this option at the top and create a new folder, Chocolate Creations, and I'll color code it. So might not have anything that matches exactly that topic, but here we'll create it. Now the advantage of color coding is that it helps that folder to stand out. And as we saw before, if I wanted to have a little bit more space, I could collapse a navigation. That makes it a little bit more visual, easier to see the full contents. So this is color-coded. I also have another one, purchasing, that's color-coded. So this can help you with your organization of these files. I have some files that I'd like to move into that Chocolate Creations. Here I'll move into my OneDrive practice files. So I have some files here that I'd like to move into that folder, and I'll just select them individually here because it may not be that all of them are going to transfer over, but these are then the files that I would like to move into my Chocolate Creations. So with those selected, notice here I have a toolbar. So here's a Move To option. I could right-click on the file, and here is Move To. I also could use 3 dots as well. But let's move to, and I'll navigate back to My Files, navigate to Chocolate Creations, and in the bottom right-hand corner, say Move Here. So now we can confirm that those files have been moved to the Chocolate Creations folder. Once again, whether it's an individual file or folder or a selection of them, notice that we have the three dots. We could right-click, so lots of different options here as well in terms of even how we might open that file. So this is a Word file. Do I want to open it in the browser, the web application, or in the desktop app? Additionally, here is an icon to share and a favorite, which we'll be talking about later as we continue this series. So different choices in terms of how we can manage these files and folders. We'll come back to My Files. We can also access OneDrive from File Explorer. Notice here that my OneDrive is selected. We can see that up as well in the URL. And those same folders are displayed here. And even the color coding is there for us. So if this just makes more sense for you in some cases, then this is another way for you to manage those files. In this case, I'd like to create another folder, and I can do this in the upper left-hand corner. Here's my plus or my new, some of the similar options. So I have another project, North Wind. I'll create that folder. And here under my OneDrive practice files, I'll locate some files that I'd like to move. In this case, I'm selecting it using Control. Just holding Control and selecting these. Now I already have moved this presentation, but I'll select this as an example. And now I can right-click, and here I have similar options. So not exactly what we saw before, but if I want to move, I will cut and then navigate back, move to Northwind, and from here then I could press Control V to paste, right-click, and here's my paste, whatever makes sense for you. And now those files have been moved to the Northwind folder. Here we'll navigate back, and I'll move to this Chocolate Creations folder. Let's say that this file is one that I'm working with frequently. I'll simply right-click on this, and here is an option, Always Keep on this device. So what happens is this changes. That is, this option keeps a local copy of the file on your computer so it's available offline. And that's ideal for traveling or when your internet access might be a little bit uncertain or limited. So it's changing the access. It's still in OneDrive, but basically you have a copy locally that can synchronize to OneDrive when the internet access is available. But when access is not available, then as soon as you reconnect, then changes will be synchronized, whatever is the most recent for that. I could also apply this to an entire folder. So for instance, with Northwind, I'll right-click on this, Always Keep on this device. And notice that that icon has changed. We also have another icon that we can see here. So for instance, financial statements. In this case, I have a little person next to it. That means that is a shared file, and you can see that for some of the other files here as well. Let's look at what all of these mean for us when we're working with OneDrive. So as we saw, when you're viewing your files from File Explorer, you'll see different icons that reflect the status, synchronization, and availability of the file. So these indicators can help you understand whether a file is stored locally, in the cloud, or both, which is especially useful when you're managing storage or working offline. What we'll primarily see is the blue cloud next to the files. That just means that it's online only, it's not stored locally on your computer. It does require internet access to open it. Files will automatically download when they're opened. A green outlined circle means it's locally available. That means it's been downloaded to your computer. It may be a file that's currently open, and it is still available offline and still synchronized. As we saw, the solid green check means that that file will always be on the device. So it's always available online, but then a copy of it is permanently stored on your computer, and any changes will be synchronized. You might occasionally see then also the circular arrows. This means that file or the folder is currently in process of synchronizing. So it may be in something that you recently worked with or someone else is recently working with. Occasionally, a red X might show up. That means that there's a synchronization error, and that's typically means that there might have been a loss of your internet access. So typically that is a temporary display. And as we saw, when you see that person, that hat, then that is a shared file or folder. Another way to access OneDrive is through the OneDrive app. Now, this is typically not how we will go work with it, but I do want you to see here in my taskbar, here is my OneDrive, and it's currently up to date. So it's simply showing you files that have been synced, and you can see my recent activities. So I can open the folder to that, which takes me to File Explorer, and we could do other management with this, but it's likely you'll be choosing one of the other methods to be accessing this content. So I'm back in OneDrive, and I'm going to move to this folder, this Chocolate Creations folder. And from here, I'll create a brand new Word document directly from OneDrive. Choose Create or Upload. Here is Word document. This opens the online or browser version of Word. Right now, it is just a generic blank document. I'll come up to the top here and give it a name. So I now have this name. And because I was in that particular folder, this is where it's stored. Now, I realize that you're likely going to be working directly in the applications to create new files or to edit existing ones. But just know it's really easy to launch or create a brand new file from OneDrive. Let's add a few entries here. And I could continue. Because we're using the web-based version of Word, all of these changes are automatically being saved to OneDrive. I'd like to also share this with a colleague, and we'll continue to look at collaboration and sharing as we continue. But in the upper right-hand corner, this is one of the ways for us to share. So this is through our applications. Simply choose the share option here, and I'll pick share. I'll share this with Adele. If we look over on the right-hand side, we can see by default, my option is that she can edit. I can also limit it to say she can only view, for instance. Here I'll add a message. Adele's going to receive this as an email that will provide a link to this file. I could also copy the link and include it in my own email for more context or drop it into a Teams channel or chat. In this case, I'll send. So Adele has received this file, this link. Now she's opening it up. When a file is shared and someone has it open, then we will see their profile or an icon for that. Sometimes it will show as guest contributor, but in this case, I see Adele. I see where she's located. Typically, when we're sharing, we're not going to always have it open at the same time, or if we do, we're working on different elements of that file. In this case, Adele has access and she could make modifications to it. So we can see the changes that she's making. This is very dynamic. And this could continue. In this case, she's all done with it, and so she'll close it out. Now I'm the only one that currently has this file open. I could also close it as well. And we can see that the benefits of chocolate is in this folder. Here I'll refresh my view, and we can now see that this file is shared. As we saw before, if this is selected and we choose details, then this would indicate as well who has access to that file. One of the frequent questions I get has to do with storage. And so it's good to know that whether you're new to OneDrive or have used it extensively, you don't need to worry about running out of storage space. For most organizations or even standalone usage, your personal OneDrive has a capacity of 1 terabyte, so you have plenty of room for your files and folders. As you can see, OneDrive gives you a lot of flexibility in how you organize and manage your files. This is part of my OneDrive series, so check out the description for links to the next video on collaboration and more time-saving tips. For more resources, visit thesoftwarepro.com/OneDrive. And if this helped, like and subscribe for more practical Microsoft 365 tips. See you in the next video.